Hello, everyone, and welcome to SmashBoxxTV podcast 530. Well, I'm blessed. I'm in another country far, far away from you, Johnny.
Yeah, but you're coming back. That's the silly part. Most people leave and they never come back in my life. Not you. You always come back.
That's true. Somehow I'm a sucker for the punishment. I'll be getting back right around time for election, which coincidentally, it's election time here in Uruguay right now. And it was so close that they're having a runoff. And November 24th, out of like the 3,000 candidates people were forced to vote for, they're going to come back on November 24th because it's been narrowed down to essentially two people. Of course, we'll have to have the updates on the show in a month or so when we come back. But that's for another story for another day, how Uruguay does their voting process. It's actually pretty insane because we were essentially here for what is just like Tuesday, November will be. We were here for it a couple days ago on Sunday, and you're not served alcohol. There's all sorts of rules and regulations that are going on with it. You have to vote. It's not an option, so to speak. You're actually noted within the system as to whether or not you voted, and you have to go to your districts and precincts and all that stuff. It's crazy. So just a little tidbit from Uruguay.
Interesting.
On Smashbox, we open with the after.
All right, with that, since they're not even on show, if you're hearing from the peanut gallery, I'm going to welcome in because we're here in Uruguay. I've got over here on my left, I've got Zachary Smith, and on my right, I've got Tyler Searle. And two of the guys that are here, of course, for the project, two of the guys that have also been on the show in recent time.
In the last month.
Why? What are we doing?
I don't know.
How are we here again? All right.
That's why we're doing
That's
this.
why we are. Hashtag lapsed or something. So we're going to give some quick updates as to what's been going on here. There's going to be videos that someone off-screen, Mitchell, and our other crew are working on. So it'll be a real polished product when it's all said and done. But you're in Uruguay. How could we not go live? So let's start with Tyler.
Okay.
We're going to skip the foundation for 2 seconds because just a week or so ago, the Masters at Bud Hill opened and happened and took place and all that other stuff, open and closed, so to speak. Give us a quick update. I know you weren't physically there, but what was kind of the overall?
The overall report was it was amazing. It was what the Masters of Bud Hill is supposed to be. It was a gathering of Masters players that have been going there for over a decade. Gathering as a group of friends, playing disc golf at an amazing facility. With Daniels, at Bud Hill, and they got exactly what they wanted. I mean, everybody had a great time. My brother was there, like we talked about. Matt Lloyd was our tournament director, obviously of Southeastern disc golf fame, and like I said in one post, soon to be worldwide fame. I mean, just the team was incredible. We had a number of our community. Thanks to you guys, to you and Johnny for having me on. The outpouring of support for us and then the event was tremendous. So thank you all for your support. The event was tremendous. It was excellent. The weather was perfect. Disc golf was great.
Awesome. Good. Well, again, there could be probably an entire documentary done as to how things are going down or have gone down. But for now, it's all behind us, and everything that you guys did to step up and to fill any voids or make up for any shortcomings were greatly appreciated, clearly, by the entire community. I think that's something we need to continue to build on rather than get caught up in everything else that was part of the negative side. We can build on the positive and learn from the negative. I don't want to ignore it or forget it, but we can learn from it. And speaking of building things, I'm going to head over to Zach here. Zach, we're in another country, as most of the Paul McBeth Foundation projects have been. You announced this one just a few weeks ago as well on our show, but how many years in are we, and how has this event been different from the previous few years?
Yeah, so this is our 4th year of doing projects, and it's our second time in South America. So it's been great to see, new community getting disc golf course, and I would say that it's different in the way that we're seeing a different culture, we're seeing different people, but at the end of the day, it's the same. We watch kids pick up a disc and throw it for the first time, and every single one of them smiled and wanted to do it again. And at the end of the day, that's what we're here for. That opportunity that they get to go out on a course, play with their friends, have some fun, and potentially even become a world champion one day. that's why we're here.
And specifically yesterday, one of the parts of the overall outreach and the foundation was us going to a local school that is adjacent, or it seems like it's part of the park in which the course is being installed. We went to a school, literally hundreds of kids. Is that an assumed component of every visit? How do you normally work in getting the community involvement?
Yeah, so it definitely is a component of every trip we do. We work with our local contacts, our project drivers, to make sure that they have at least some sort of community engagement that we do. So on Saturday, like you guys were part of, it was mostly a lot of their friends, which is great. But we also saw a tremendous amount of park goers walking through the course. We were hanging out near hole 1, which is located right on the main walkway, pulling people on the side. Hey, you want to try this new sport? So it was great. We had the captive audience of a school, which is always really nice because it's a captive audience that you can work with a lot of people all at once. And then even today, we had our grand opening, and a school had a field trip in the park, and they came by right after we unveiled the new sign, and just it blew up right after.
Magic happened.
Yeah, it was really neat.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to switch a little in a similar sense. I know that in recent years you were involved with a Boy Scout jamboree, for instance, introducing disc golf to thousands, literally tens of thousands of kids, and compare something like that and that experience to what we're doing here. Both are growing the sport in incredible ways, but is there similarities or differences that you experienced?
So being able to work with the Boy Scouts of America, it was tremendous. And it was captive in a sense that they were on site. We had 20,000 kids. So they were there for 2 weeks, and we were part of their offered experience. This is, like Zach was saying, we took it to them, but it was also, I felt like in America, like we had international Boy Scouts that were there, scouts from all over, but a lot of them, being American, maybe had an introduction to at least disc sports, right? Disc sports. So they understood what we were doing. When we walked into that school yesterday, I mean, Terry is a celebrity. There's no doubt. but we all got to be like something special yesterday, and that to me is not normal. I'm just a guy that drives a Frisbee truck. But to go in there and see those children, absolutely, because we're in a different country, us get to share photos on our phone, show on a map where we live compared to where they live, which is half a globe apart, was awesome. And some of us speak a little bit of Spanish. Some of us don't speak any at all. I mean,
no habla español?
7 words now. No habla español. Yeah. Sorry, that's 4. So Terry's got 7, and it's growing.
True.
But we, from that standpoint, but you had a crowd of kids around you. I don't. What did you do? You showed them YouTube, right?
I don't even remember what it was.
No,
but
they want to know if you knew Mr. Beast.
Oh, yeah. Because, of course, as soon as you mentioned Mr. Beast, and that's obviously part of the worldwide phenomenon, you mention YouTube, yes. Mr. Beast is immediately where they go to. So I guess maybe that's a little lesson for us to learn, right? Is that somehow we need to be integrating or advertising with Mr. Beast, which will only cost tens of thousands of dollars. But there is something to be said about that YouTube generation. And then finding, there's a little cred that does come along with any YouTube channel. When they see any amount of 30,000, 100,000, whatever the number is, that's where most of these kids are getting their information from. So there's something to be said there. But
I think it's cool that they get to experience it from a celebrity, and we actually saw it slightly with Sullivan Tipton, who's on the trip with us. Mm-hmm. Fortunately, not feeling very well, or else he would have been on tonight. But that day on Saturday, these high school boys came by and they started to throw a few discs, and then I forget. I'm sure somebody's bragging about Sully for him. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And they're like, "Oh my gosh, you're my favorite pro. You're the best in the world."
Yeah. And he takes the Brixton, they give kids cards to the athletes. Yeah. And Sully had them, and so he could pull out this baseball card, and they're like, "Whoa!" I mean, just explosions going on all around them. So, Boy Scouts, this different but same. It's all just being able to be in a position to expose the sport to people and have a great time, and it just.
Yeah, and I'll back up and say none of this would be possible without our locals here who are driving the project. We got to give a big shout out, as we saw Morrow, along with Pete, and those two are essentially all of Uruguay disc golf. I mean, coming into this weekend and it's going to grow and flourish. And there's a few others that are coming on board, but it's two guys that essentially single-handedly reached out to you and the foundation, and then two guys have been leading this project. What are some of maybe the, knowing just that, and there's two guys in all of Uruguay that we know that love disc golf. What are some of the parameters that you're looking for if somebody else is out there thinking, man, I'd love to bring disc golf to my community that's underserved? What are the things you're looking for?
Yeah, there's really three things. One is the location that you're applying for, a place in the world that doesn't have disc golf. Obviously, Uruguay, no disc golf courses, super easy. Two, can you work with a local organization, government, private citizen, whoever, that has some land that would be good for disc golf course? And can you get an approval for that to be used for disc golf? And Mara and Pete, they went for one park that was in a different location. For a long time, they were trying to work with them to get that signature. They never got on the dotted line, but they didn't stop. They didn't give up. They came to this other park that we have now installed, and they got that signature on the dotted line, and that's why we're here. And then thirdly, do we have these people that are willing to carry out and see it through and are competent enough to at least fill out an application, have some meetings with us, discuss it, and go through it? So that's really going to be step one, I guess, before you get to the park approval. But yeah, that's what we're looking for.
Yeah, and a lot of people might say, hey, man, that'd be really cool if I had like disc golf here. It's more than that. I mean, that's maybe the idea of where it starts. But like you said, you got to check a couple more boxes of, are you willing to be dedicated to this? Can you keep things going? Are you going to be looking for land or putting in a place that will be accessible to most, rather than just, oh, I want it in my backyard, or there's this little course that's directly behind me. There's been a lot of variance in terms of what's needed to be done from strategy, and we'll say even just planning and thought, and then actual physical on the ground, digging holes, sometimes without all of the easiest pieces of equipment or the right pieces of equipment. You've been a workhorse out there this weekend. Where do you get that drive from to like get on your hands and knees and digging like a dog at some points, digging out holes so that we could have T-sign locations? Where does that drive come from?
Where does it come from is hard to answer, but I mean, as a good, Midwestern kid, as many of us are, it was just probably part of the way that we were brought up. There's a little bit of hustle in all of us that are here this weekend or this week. But to be able to get out there, and I personally felt the need to go as hard as I could to help those two guys. Like you said, it is two guys that are and bringing disc golf to a country. So if I showed up and didn't go as hard as I possibly could for them, I would leave here feeling like I didn't give everything I could. So it was the least I could do for what they have done for us as a sport.
Yeah, and just to also kind of elaborate on that a little bit, every project clearly has different needs in terms of, what is their infrastructure like of getting equipment, having contractors, having enough hands on deck, locally, or that you're bringing in. Where does this one, I don't want to say rank like it's good or bad, but how do you feel like this project overall maybe fit into that, a scale of effort needed by the foundation?
Yeah, I would say effort needed by us. It took a lot of effort to get everything organized, but when it came to boots on the ground, we have continued to learn through each project. And that one of the things we're finding out is when you only have 5-6 days in country, pretty hard to do T-pads start to finish. And so we have trended towards trying to hire local people. That's also helping some economic impact in the places we're working. And we have 2 or 3 guys that are here that are doing all of our concrete T-pads, 35 of them, which is a lot for long and short pads.
That's what you referenced. This is a brand new course that has 35 T-pads.
Yeah.
And most courses, or not most, a lot of courses in the States go in without T-pads.
Yeah, the fact that we're playing either dirt or something that's natural for quite some time, and now here we are actually seeing concrete being poured by, there's essentially, we'll call them caretakers of this section of the park, where they own a coffee shop, a coffee shop, along with a little bit of a restaurant. And then they were offered the idea, and it was put out there for the bid for them to also then come in and do the concrete. And so it's been a learning process, really, for everybody. And then working with all the different components of the park department, from putting up the park signs to also putting in the concrete, then to just making sure that we can get people to come by. Somebody asked today, I posted a picture of the Hole One's T sign, and they said, that's great. How are you getting locals involved? And you kind of talked about that earlier. Even during the opening today, there was a whole flood of school kids that came by. And you have to assume if there was 50 or 75 school kids, at least 5 of them are going to try and come back out and play. What are some of the other things that you encourage for the local project drivers? How do you encourage them to get that community involvement?
Yeah, it's all about building community. So all of the signs that we have, one, it's going to say, what is this? Because these people that are walking through the park, they're going to see these new signs, and they're going to be like, what? 1, what does that even mean? There's no hole in the ground here. And they get to scan a QR code that says, this is what disc golf is. And so that's kind of the start. But then they have a WhatsApp group. They've got their Facebook group. They're getting people connected. And then they also have done a great job on the big info board. It says, if you need discs or you want to learn how to play, go to the park office, which is mostly always open. And there they have a little brochure that explains the sport, how you play. It has all of the links to get connected to them, and then a scorecard. And then you get your discs from the park office. You go out and play. You return them there. And our hope is that after a few times, they're like, hey, this is a lot of fun. I need to buy my own discs. And we can start to build that kind of an actual infrastructure of disc golf. And so we'll encourage handicaps and leagues, and then a PDGA sanctioned tournament as soon as they have enough people playing and everything's ready to go.
How do you feel as the support can come if somebody said, hey, you don't have to have roots here or anything like that, but I'd like to continue to support a mission that has happened. Is that often needed? If somebody said, oh, I might be going to Uruguay, next month. Can I round up 50 discs and bring them? Do you feel like those types of situations are still welcomed? And
yeah, I would say that's a definite need. If we have anybody that is traveling to one of our locations at any project, most of the time we are always looking to send discs to them, because as we all know, as disc golfers, you can never have too many discs. Right. And so, if you're going to one of our project locations and you want to take along a checked bag, we have a stock of discs that sit in somebody's house that are all assigned to go towards projects whenever they're needed. And so reach out, just the simple contact form on our website, say, hey, I'm going to Guatemala next week and want to bring some discs along. If you don't have them yourself, we can send you some. You can take them.
Wow. Okay. Wow. I was just thinking, if you could round them up, that'd be great. But if you guys can even help provide them, that's even better. And that leads right to another point: is Dynamic Disc is our presenting gold sponsor of this particular project. I love the McBeth Foundation in that it's not just branded by one specific company. I've said that countless times. Obviously, Paul's associated and sponsored by Discraft, but to see Discmania and Dynamic Disc and Innova and all these other companies that have been in some capacity part or presenting sponsors donating the courses, I think is incredible. Dynamic happens to be this one, which obviously you're tied to, but even that, Dynamic didn't send you here. You're here on your own accord.
Yeah.
Why? How?
The reason you're here too, man. We love this sport.
Yeah,
we love this sport. And when Zach offered it to Seth Finley and I during Worlds this year at Lynchburg, and I had the open space on the calendar, which is why you're here too. Mm-hmm. I talked to my wife, do that, and this was just a great opportunity for the sport. So this is something that we couldn't turn our back on. Me, and obviously with Dynamic already having such a large financial contribution in place, as me, I don't expect them to do that type of thing. It was the opportunity to be with you guys, to be with the foundation, and help grow the sport in general, in large, was what pulled on me to be here.
All right. Well, I'm going to ask you both the same question, but I'm going to start with you. What in this project, because we arrived essentially on Thursday. Most of us left sometime Wednesday from the States, got here at sometime on Thursday, whether it was early morning at 7:30, like me and Jamie, or a little after. That, either way. But we all had a long day of travel Wednesday. We got here Thursday. It's Tuesday night, obviously, and everyone's leaving sometime Wednesday. Almost 5 or 6 days. What has been the most surprising component of this trip? Something that you didn't expect, or something that's just been wild and crazy? What's the biggest surprise?
All right. I think it is the love of disc golf without disc golf being in this country.
Fair.
Right?
Yeah.
Morrow and Pete, we've seen a basket that weighed 95 pounds that Morrow built. We saw pictures of them carrying a Franklin. I'm not kidding, a Franklin basket with plastic chains.
Mm-hmm.
They just met up. Like, they met up because of disc golf. They weren't friends. Pete's Russian.
Yeah. Wanted to escape Russia along with his wife.
And so these disc golf got these two guys together. They just carried a basket around the wilderness and played disc golf. And then there's Ayrton, and now we have Gabby and Gabby's dad and their spouses. And there is a disc golf community here, and there is not a basket in the ground.
Yeah.
So that was very surprising, and also very, very, just awesome, inspiring, and emotional for me. Like tonight when we said our goodbyes, I was like, I don't know when I'll feel this kind of connection to the sport again.
Yeah, and you say surprising, which is crazy because all of us, especially if you're watching or listening, we all love disc golf, and you know that the love is out there. But to even on this level, I think to see how that love and that passion for the sport at an infantile level, at such a core beginning, to know that seed was planted by the two of those guys, and now what it's going to grow into is incredible.
To throw it back to you, do you think this is what Ed was feeling when he was taking a sport that didn't exist out around the country? Like you're as we are the same age, you are a resident in the room.
Possibly, or Ed was just like, man, I'm going to make a bunch of money. And I mean that in the most polite way, because he wanted to take full advantage of all the opportunities that presented himself, and he was an innovator. And so I'm sure, though, also it was interesting probably back then, because as Frisbee was becoming more of a thing that people were doing, and he was just trying to get Frisbees out there, I'm not sure he knew that this is where disc golf would ultimately go, but he certainly had a vision, and we're all blessed, that we get to be part of that. So I'll throw the question to you second, because you've been on so many. First of all, we'll clarify how many, because you haven't been to every project. But knowing that you've been the project leader here on a number of them, was there anything out of the ordinary that was truly surprising? So how many, and was there any surprises?
Yeah, so this would be my fourth, or I guess it's my fourth trip, maybe my fifth or sixth actual project that I've been on. And I wish that I could come up with a nice emotional answer like Tyler. It was really great. And I don't mean to downplay all of the things you've shared, but it's not surprising to me at this point.
Yeah, okay.
This gets to happen with so many of our projects, and it is unbelievable to see. But to go back and answer your question, the surprising thing is that it's one of, if not the only place that we have been to that is more expensive than it is at home. And we don't see that. So that was really surprising for me to come in, and our meals, just a simple lunch, is more expensive than we would go out somewhere in the States.
So this is Zach asking you all to join the Builders Club.
Yes, that's a good point. We'll get all those very fair plugs in. Yeah, and that is such a great point. Is being here, knowing that it's not necessarily it's not poverty stricken or anything like that, but you're still introducing it to people that have never had it, and you're trying to get all these new kids in, and some of those kids aren't going to have easy access to be able to get a ton of discs or have those types of things, and those all presented to them. You just said you've been involved with 4 or 5, 6 projects overall. There's a tease. Is it out there yet as to what the next one is? And if you can't share it, that's fine. But you guys are working on the next one.
Yes, we are heading to the 5th continent for the year. So we will knock off Africa once again. It'll be a new country. Can't share the country just yet.
Okay.
But be sure to follow us on Instagram, and we'll be letting people know, I think, in about 10 days. I want to say the Monday after next, whatever date that is.
Oh, sure. I don't know what it is. We'll get on the plane tomorrow, and then we get home on Halloween.
What is so that's going to be happening this year, though?
We are announcing that one. It'll installed right after the first of the year.
Okay.
So we already had an advanced team go earlier this month, went to confirm everything that was in place that we believed and thought was in place before we announced it and moved forward. But we have now confirmed that this will be an official project, and we'll be moving forward with it.
What does it take for someone to be involved? You're here, I'm here for our first time. Most of the other, Jamie, who's on from the PDGA is here. Jason Wilder, who's rumor borrowing at the moment. Thank you, Jason, representing Zuka and just representing, the growth of disc golf as well, and dynamic and everything else that Jason does. We're all here for our first time. What are you looking for in people that maybe are interested in being part of this project, a future project?
Yeah, right now we are kind of still working through what it takes to get new individuals onto a project trip like this. But once projects are installed, they're on UDisc. I welcome you to reach out to the contact that's on there and plan a trip and maybe do that on your own. But really the best way for people to be involved is to start small, and starting small could be doing $5 a month to Builders Club. I mean, truly that is the best and easiest way to allow us to continue doing our mission and then work up from there. Join the Builders Club is a lot of times we've found people that have joined the Builders Club that have shown the commitment to what we're doing, and then they reach out with a separate request. And honestly, we take them a little more serious because they've built up credibility with our organization. They've already shown that they care. And so we kind of take those at a little higher credibility. And then those people can become somebody like a Paul Wright, who is a name that most people in disc golf probably don't know, but has been to more projects for the Paul McBeth Foundation than anybody else. He has designed and overseen many of our course designs, has worked with a lot of our project drivers, has visited them, and has been doing an amazing job, all as a volunteer because he loves the mission. And it is great to see that, and we look forward to having more Paul Wrights involved, but we're just waiting to kind of find them. Yeah,
and the Builders Club is a great way to do it. I know the Cold Turkey, which I've just put out there, tournaments can also donate money. Yep. You can make a donation of any size of any kind at any time, but it's really easy to edit, whether it's Disc Golf Scene or something like that. People can go out and create other ways that if you want to donate to the cause. But the Builders Club is great because that just is basically a commitment that comes out monthly, right?
Yeah, and it serves the foundation, and the study stream. That helps you guys budget. Yeah, it's nice.
Yeah, makes perfect sense. Tyler, what's coming up next big for you? We're going to start to cut things loose here soon.
So we've got this weekend off. I hope that's okay. Dave, I know you're not taking this weekend off.
No, I'm going to Guatemala. I got stuff to do.
I'm going to take this weekend off. Then we've got the Jacksonville Open, so the JO starts. We've got the AM weekend, then the Pro weekend, which is a DGPT2 school event. Then we have Thanksgiving weekend, I believe, which is a Veterans for Vets event. And then we had Hurricane Milton disrupted Florida a few weeks ago now. So we had to move a bunch of events around. So I've got one of my rescheduled events going to be there, the NSV Ironman New Smyrna Beach on Sunday. Then it's the Cho, bud.
Yeah, the Cho, another event.
Showtime. So the Gainesville Chainhawks, going to be Showtime. I'll see you there, which is going to be great. I can't wait to see you there.
Yeah, and I know they also partner extensively with the Foundation.
Our raffle is a McBeth Foundation event, so I think it's at least year 3.
Yeah,
that Chris and the team.
And they're a club partner. They work with Uganda. They've helped Israel, run the biggest junior event, I think, in the world outside of Worlds. And they've been doing awesome stuff up there.
Yeah, Chainhawks are the best. I say it all the time. Actually, this summer I said, you want to learn how to be a great club, you can go to Gainesville or Rochester, New York. So check those two out if you want to build a great club.
Awesome. All right. Anything before we cut you loose? Anything else you want to say to the world out there as we're just about to wrap up? You're going to be here a little longer with everybody else, so you kind of get everyone on their final planes tomorrow night. Nice. Anything else you want to share with anyone?
No, just appreciate you having me on tonight. It's been awesome to be a part of another project, and can't wait to share what else we're going to be working on.
Oh, I thank you, man. Particularly you. Thank you for what you've done this trip. You were the project driver. You were the man. Thanks so much for all you've done for the foundation and for us as a team here. Thank you.
It's been incredible, Johnny. Before we cut loose and we get ready, everybody's got to pack. We continue or finish watching out the game, all that other stuff. Any questions that you have for any of us before we let you guys go?
There was just one question, and that was someone asking if there's any way that someone can financially, let's say, donate a disc to a local, is there any sort of shop down there? Is there someone selling discs that they could support? Send whatever the amount, $12, $15 to a and say, hey, give this to a local. I think Doc was asking that.
Oh, that's a great question and really kind. I don't think there's a specific way yet, but that's not totally out of the question. Kind of like sponsoring, like you sponsor a kid or you sponsor an entry fee or something like that. There might be a way that gets worked out, especially through Moro or Pete or something like that in the future, right?
Yeah, I think the challenge is right now. I mean, if you were to send them $15, like they can't go buy it.
Yeah,
there's no retailers to sell.
Yeah,
it's just not going to happen. So the best way is to use a disc donation form on our website, and whether it's this project or another one, that disc is going to be in the hands of somebody at a project that has probably never played disc golf before.
Yeah, that's a great question, and I can't say it enough.
It's a worthwhile question. Like these people don't have anything. Like I mean, like in terms of disc golf.
Yeah,
like, it's if you've got something to give, like that's an awesome thing that you guys have. I didn't know about that one.
Yeah, and just the idea that rounding up discs that you either can get to the foundation directly, or we find a way at some point if we round it up enough and everybody said, hey, we have these 50 discs, let's get them sent there. We'd find a way, and we know the right people to get them actually to, and that they would certainly be useful. And we're going to leave 100-ish, 150 discs. PDGA I know is involved, along with a bunch of people on the trip. So about 100 discs will be left behind this week, and those are just simply going to be a great starting point.
There's 300 more that are with the baskets right now.
Oh, great. Thank you.
Okay, so we have even more. Yes, appreciate that very much so as well. All right, Johnny, I think that's about everything that we've got here. Most of the world knows I'm going to be talking about this trip and everything that the experience was. I'll probably be talking about it for years, and I'll break down more maybe even next week. But for the sake of brevity here at 10:33, I think we're going to get ourselves out of here and, like I said, start wrapping up. I'm super excited. I'm going to Guatemala, as was just recently put out there. And that also was a Paul McBeth Foundation project from a couple of years ago. So I'm going to be able to go see how things are going. The last time I looked, there was like 64 out of the 72 people were signed up or spots were taken. And 2/3 or 3/4 of those were juniors. And so it's clearly, when we talk about growing the sport and getting the hands or discs into kids' hands and starting with the youth and all the other cliches we throw around, it's happening there, and I get to experience it firsthand myself. So I'm super excited to head to Guatemala tomorrow night. So you'll have even another update. You should leave the state, Johnny. Come join us. It'll be fun.
I would love to. I would love to leave the state. I'd love to leave the country. I did, just so you know, Terry, I did sign up for the memorial. Unfortunately, I did it a day late, and I'm the first person on the waiting list. So,
yeah. But you'll get it. You'll get in.
I think I'll get in. Maybe I'll have to twist an arm, but yeah, it looks like there's a lot for the AM waiting. There's a lot of space in other AM divisions that could possibly be freed up. So there very well could be an Arizona trip in my future, and maybe even some of the family. We'll see.
All right. Then next up, I don't know, Panama or somewhere else. We go from there. Anyway, all right. Well, I want to thank all the Smashies for joining us tonight. I want to thank these two guys who were jumped in with us right away. I want to thank everybody else who's been on this trip. Like I said, there's going to be a ton of videos that will be produced that Mitchell over there and crew are working on. So I'm excited to see how everything looks when it's all said and done. And I'll be able to give more updates. I'll at some point put out another video myself with some of the highlights and key components of the weekend and experiences for us. It's been incredible. And with that, I'm going to cut you loose, or we're going to cut loose, and we'll catch you next time.
All right. Go Dodgers, right?
I don't really care. I don't think I could care less who's going to win.
Neither could I. I think they're my two most hated teams. So it's like flip a coin. You want to get to, just pick one. But Yankees are up right
now. In a world where the Yankees lose, I win. So it's fine.
All right. Yankees are up 5-2. So you guys have a good night.
All right. Good night. Thank you, Smashies. We'll see you next week. See ya.
All right. That was Terry Miller from Uruguay, Montevideo, Uruguay, with the Paul McBeth crew and Tyler Searle. And sorry, I had to mute him in my ear because even though you couldn't hear him, I could still hear him. So having him talk made me panic for a little bit, for a quick second, split second there. All right, let's talk a little bit PDGA this week. We have a few events going on. It's going to probably be a short show tonight unless anyone has questions on the board. First, we'll talk about the Down East Players Cup presented by Yeet Street Discs. Winning this one, I believe right near his anniversary, too. Grady Shue. Grady Shue shoots 37 under par, winning $1,850. I think I've said this before, but I think Grady Shue is like probably the best, one of the best players not on tour. Like full-time tour. So I'd love to see him be able to kind of focus on the tour. And I bet you he could be, I would say, a top 30 kind of guy. You know, regularly maybe bounce into that top 10, but probably sit 25th to 15th maybe any given week. Grady's just such a really solid player. Shooting overall, what were his round ratings this weekend? 1080, 1058, and 1061. That's some damn good disc golf. Second place, Robert Burridge, tied with Noah Meintsma. Fourth place, Matt Thompson. And fifth place, Raven Newsome. Then we go down to the FPO division. Emily Weatherman wins this one, taking home $770 over Emma Harrison. So congratulations, Emily Weatherman. MP40, I'll mention it just because I just happen to see his name up there. Brian Schweberger shoots 36, shooting a 1042, 1006, and a 1051 for $1,400. So congratulations to the winners down there in Greenville, North Carolina. Let's move on over to Hub City Halloween Open. This is a tier in South Carolina, in Inman, South Carolina. Winning this was Ryan Mon, shooting a 5 under par. So that's a tough course, 5 under par. You don't see that very often. Ryan shot a 1032, 1034, 1025 for $1,800. Congratulations, Ryan Mon, over Jake Wolf and Joel Freeman, who both shot 3 under. Fourth place, Braden Sides. Fifth place, Brent Hanu. The FPO division, Cat Murch wins this, shooting 3 over par, besting Deanne Carey by 6 strokes, who shot 9 over par. Cat Murch comes home with $1,034. MP40, I mentioned Schwebby, so I feel like I need to mention Barry. Barry Schultz wins this, shooting 7 under par for $748 over Johnny McGee. Not Johnny McRae, Johnny McGee. So those are your Hub City Halloween Open out of Inman, South Carolina. Do we have one more? I think we do. We've got the ETZA Disc Golf Oklahoma Open presented by Innova. Mason Ford wins this, shooting 30 under par, taking home $1,200. His round ratings, 1039, 1039, 1034. Consistent disc golf, 52, 52, 52. It's pretty darn good. Just right around the board. Second place, Freddie Meza, tied with John Jones. Tie for fourth place between Jonathan Fletcher and Levi Hancock. Down on FPO, you've got Valerie Mondahano shooting 7 under par for $550. 6 better than Emily Beach. Valerie's sister, Alexis Mondahano, shot an even and was in third place. MP40, Matt House wins in a playoff over Billy Lund. Matt House was a big name when I first came on the scene. As far as he kind of reminded me back then of like an Ezra Aderhold. How Ezra is now. Like, that's more kind of the equation I would probably put with him. He was just kind of a really strong, in shape dude. I think if I remember correctly, he threw a pretty good disc, and he's still throwing a pretty darn good disc. There is one more that I want to mention from this particular event. Let's see if I can find it here. I believe it's way, way down here. MJ10. I don't talk about MJ10 very much because I don't know them. They're children. But winning this, Arian Jenkins. Yes, Avery Jenkins' son. Congratulations to Arian, shooting 27 over par. His round ratings were 798, 714, and 783. He's a 766 rated player. It's just literally another generation of the Jenkins family who's probably going to come up and beat us all. He's junior under 10. It's not going to shock me by the time he hits junior under 15 that he's probably winning open fields. That's just, I mean, come on. What more or less do we expect out of a Jenkins? Those are your PDGA events this particular weekend. There's not a lot of PDGA news. There was some announcement about finalizing the 2025 Pro, Major, and Elite Series schedule. It is officially set as of yesterday. They say mark your calendars as announcing throughout the year. Here's the full schedule. And they break down all of the DGBT and major events happening next season. It looks like, nothing surprising. This was already announced. I'm thinking that we'll maybe see. There's a few. I don't know if did they announce the Swedish events, the Ale Open and the Konopiste? I wasn't sure if those were announced, but either way, they're in there. I think they were talked about, but those are your 2025 events. They start February 28th, so that last week in February over in Florida in Brooksville. So we got some time, folks. We got November, December, January. We got 4 months. We got 4 full months of off season that we don't need to worry or think about any of that stuff. So, looking at the board a little bit, let's talk about what we see on there. People giving. Someone asked if anything from the Paul McBeth Foundation was in Africa yet. Yes, I believe they have 2 courses there. And they're going for a third. That was probably in the interview when I was looking at some other things. I'm sure they mentioned it. But as a general update right now, I know I said a few minutes ago, but the Dodgers are right now down 3-5. Again, I don't really care about either. I don't like either of these teams. I'm a small market kind of guy. I'm a Brewer fan. That's just how we roll here in Milwaukee. But if both teams could lose, I'd be happy there, but that's not possible. So I have to pick the lesser of 2 evils, and I think that's the Dodgers. I don't know how that's possible, but I think it is. So let's go down the board a little bit here. We have someone asking for a Grady Shoe Pro T-Bird. That would be awesome. We should get something like that. You might already have that. Look out there. Have they announced if Gannon will be sponsored solely by Smashbox in 2025? I don't think so. I don't think we can afford Gannon. I don't think he's on the market, but maybe we can get Isaac. This is his year. This is off year now, so maybe throw our hat in the ring. Get some information there. I do want to give a big thank you, huge thank you for all you card collectors out there. Brixton sent me a small box of the newest edition of the disc golf cards. So I have 2 boxes, each I think with 8 packs, and in each pack there's 5 cards. I think that's right. Or there 5 packs with 8 cards. I don't know. I looked it over, but I don't remember. It's sitting upstairs. I think one of those boxes I may do some live streaming. I may crack those open and give Brixton a little promotion. Not that they need it, because as it was announced today, Brixton now has a new co-owner. That's right. Dylan Cease announced he is, or it was announced that he's going to be the co-owner of Brixton. And he's looking to obviously elevate the cards, the pictures, the information, just everything in general, for collectors. I like collecting the cards. I don't even know I don't think you can buy a complete set anymore. That's when I really liked, when I could I'm a lazy collector. I like just buy the complete set and I'm done. That's why I've got a few of the complete sets of the old 2016 and 2017 and 2018, 2019. But either way, and I can't do that anymore. They don't sell it. You have to collect them all and you crack them open and there's breaks and I don't know. If you're really into card collecting, I'm sure you already know all this and you can watch it on other streams that are talking about disc golf cards. That's not really my jam too much. I don't have anything like that. I just like to have them. box on stream at some point, maybe sometime this weekend. I've got the weekend off. My family's going to be going up north and visiting my in-laws, her parents, taking the kids. So I'm going to do some housework, and that's really kind of about it. I ain't got nothing going on this weekend. Do we have? Oh, it's now 4-5 Dodgers. Is there going to be a better way? So like the Dodgers are down 3-0. I'm sorry, the Dodgers are up 3-0. Is there a better way for the Yankees to lose than to think they were actually going to win one and then lose it in like the 9th? It might be a kick. Might be a kick right in the groin. I might like that. We'll see. Sports. Jim Brown says, does Smashbox sponsor any players? No, we do not. We have not sponsored any players. We've never made enough money to sponsor a player. If we do things, we prefer, in general, usually to put the money towards more charitable organizations if we can. Like we donated a bunch to the Paul McBeth Foundation between Skip Ace and Smashbox and Disc Golf Guy. I don't really see... Now, if Smashbox blew up and we were, a 500,000 sub YouTube channel, I could see maybe doing something like that, but that's not where we're at. We don't really have the cash. We don't make any money on this show. Not gonna lie. It's like, we pay for internet every month and server space, website stuff, and I think Terry and I come out a couple bucks ahead every month. So used to be more when we were doing live streaming. Not a lot more, but a little bit more. Now, it's more of a passion project for us. So we'll see. Jim Brown says he'll accept sponsorship to a C tier. You promise me you're going to win? Just saying, if you can't promise me you're going to win. Doc says, no, my wife and kids are going to see her parents, not mine. So she's going to go up and visit. I'm going to hang out here. My in-laws, her parents. Although my wife has done that before. I remember there was a disc golf weekend. I was working. I think it was Easter. And she went up and visited my family. Because that's where, with the kids and all that other fun stuff. It happens. That's fine. We're all, we've been together for too damn long, if you ask me. No, almost 20 years now. We've been dating and whatnot. I think 2005 when we started dating. Sounds about right. So I think this is year 19. So next year will be year 20. So it's all family. It's all family. Doc Sen says he wonders if he could ever do a crowd fund to pay a player's entry fee, where if they win, they put the money back into the pot, plus maybe 5 to 10%. I have thought about that as far as like a sponsorship thing, like, hey, I'll cover your entry fee, and if you cash, you pay me back, and then plus 5%, like you said, and then you keep the rest, because then they're not outlaying the thing. But right now, most players are fully sponsored, so there is no, they don't really need that outlay. But that could be something different. I've also thought about it for Skip Ace. And it's funny because the player I thought most about doing that with in the last year or two is not Raven Newsom. I wasn't thinking. Gavin Rathbun was the name I couldn't pull out of my mouth. Gavin Rathbun. He's not sponsored by any major manufacturer right now, although he probably could be by next year. The thought was like, hey, let's run a weekly event on Skip Ace. All the funds go to a particular player, and maybe there's sponsorship involved and stuff like that. But I've just never been able to wrap my full head around it. And then maybe they're sponsored by Skip Ace, so to speak. But I never really did that, although it could happen. Speaking of Skip Ace, I did push out a whole bunch of updates out to Skip Ace late last week, and I'm going to be running a very small, for fun, host event league. It's like the end of season league. It's 5 events from now until the end of the year. It's literally just more of a testing phase. So you can go out to SkipAce if you're already a member. If not, sign up at app.skipace.com, or just go to skipace.com and you can find, there's a little login thing, but you can hit join league and it'll show you a list of all the available leagues that are out there for each style. That's one of the new features, that there's it's easier to find leagues in case you don't have enough, in case you're not friends with people in the disc golf community. I get that every year. Everyone's like, oh, I would love to join a league, but I don't know anybody and my friends aren't into it. Well, now it'll be a lot easier to find open leagues that people are just looking for more players. There's an option for your commissioner to check a box that just says, this is a public league. Someone can join in. Everything's hunky-dory. And then you guys can work out if there's any sort of payment on the side. I'm not doing any of that stuff yet. I don't want to be involved quite yet into the payment features of that. But yeah, and then you can take a look at some of the features that are out there, the newer features, some of the stats and things like that. But it's the new scoring system, new scoring points as far as more granular birdies, bogeys, streaks, things like that are all out there for next season. Jim Brown just says PEX. I don't know what PEX, other than plumbing. PEX plumbing? PEX A? PEX B? What kind of PEX are you talking here, buddy? You color code your PEX? Red for hot, blue for cold? Maybe white for cold? I found that the white comes in longer ones. The blue comes in the big spool, but it's a real pain to straighten out. The white they sell in like giant 10-foot chunks. That's nice and straightened already. So anyway, that's some plumbing talk right there. Doc said, is there a SkipAce league for people who suck? I think all of them. You can join. There's a free league, the SkipAce free league, that you can go in and just kind of play around. There's no pressure. There's no nothing. It's literally just for fun. Everybody jumps in and is part of it. It's pretty simple, honestly. Do we have any other questions on the board? Jim Brown says, Specs piping, the white is the best overall. I'm just, the white, it's great because I'm looking at the stuff I put in for red and it's still got some curve to it. My house is a concrete bunker, so I can't run the PEX through any sort of floor joists. So right now I kind of have it hanging from the ceiling until I can finish up, which I don't know when I'm going to do, the other half of the house. But then I think what I'm going to do is, again, because I live in a bunker, and there's 8 inches of concrete between me and the first floor. I will probably screw some boards right to the basement ceiling into the concrete with some tap cons. And then, just maybe a small 4x4 board, and then screw some PEX connectors and mount it a little bit better than just kind of freehand hanging at some point. Because I used to use tap cons and I screwed it into the ceiling, and it's hanging there fine, but every once in a while when the upstairs shower starts, the whole thing kind of just gives a little jerk as the water pressure flies through. So that's a whole future thing for future Johnny to deal with. That's not a now Johnny thing. So, and again, back to the board. I don't think we're going to do an after show tonight. This is going to be a pretty quick night. It's been a very quiet week, other than a few events running, and obviously just some nominal information that we went over. Terry's gone to Uruguay, which I spelt wrong in the title, so I fixed it, but I don't know if it's going to show up right or not. So we'll see. It'll show up right on the podcast, so we might have to fix it on the YouTubes. Doc says, JVD, if you could do a series for Pro Tour where you teach an influencer disc golf, who would you pick? Like, influencer disc golf. Gosh, that's so hard because you'd want to say, oh, I'd love to do Mr. Beast because he's the biggest guy in the world. And as Terry was saying, even down there, everybody knows him. That's going to give the sport the most exposure. Now, is there someone that I prefer? I think someone that would be maybe more fun. Because the YouTube channels I watch tend to be lately woodworking. And it sounds really silly, maybe, but a lot of workout, powerlifting. I'm not ever be a powerlifter. I don't want to powerlift, but there's a few guys that I've been paying attention to. Mike Israetel. I think that's how you pronounce his last name. From RP Fitness. Funny guy. Just jacked. Huge. He looks like he stands like 5'5", but he's probably also 5'5" around. And from woodworking, maybe like Bourbon Moth, who's hilarious with his woodworking. Otherwise, tech-wise, Linus Tech Tips. I don't follow a lot of tech stuff just because I don't. I deal with that all day, so I don't need to. But he's the biggest YouTube tech guy out there, probably, that I think could be fun. So, yeah, it would probably be one of those guys. Bourbon Moth would probably be the most fun. So, I'm trying to think of what other YouTube stuff I've been watching lately, and it's not a lot. Like I said, it's a lot of woodworking and working out. And I've only been watching the working out stuff lately is because last week my wife had a fundraiser for her job. She works for a nonprofit, so it's their big brouhaha. So it's a big comedy and beer and alcohol tasting thing. So they raised a whole bunch of money, and one of the prizes was a local was what they call Elite Fitness, Elite Sports Center here, like 5 minutes from my house. And it's a 3-month, not free. It's a 3-month membership, which normally runs, God, they're so expensive. It's like $170 a month or something ridiculous. And it was for, or maybe it's more than that. It's an awesome fitness center. I took a tour of it yesterday, but ultimately I put the minimum bid on and I won. Nobody else bid. So now I have basically 3 months of this phenomenal facility where they have personal trainers and saunas and pools and tennis courts and pickleball courts. And in fact, one of the Elite Fitnesses up the road has a disc golf basket at it. You know, I don't plan on doing that. So I've been, like over the last week or two, I've been just kind of hunkering down and being like, all right, if I'm going to really dedicate like 3 months of my life to this, what do I do? You know, where do I start again? Because I've been in and out of the gym for, you know, the weight room for 20 years. I'll go for 3 months and then I'll just get too busy. And a lot of that was disc golf related. Like a lot of it was just Smashbox related. When we were doing events Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, I just had no ambition to go in and do a workout in the morning or in the afternoon on a couple days. So I really let it slack. But now I have a lot more free time. We're coming up to winter, so I need to start looking. So I've been watching a ton of that stuff lately. We'll see. Tim says, so now is Terry the Disc Golf Uruguay? You're a guy. Yeah, we'll go with Uruguay. Snoop Dogg, says somebody, as an influencer. Is he really an influencer? I mean, he's a celebrity, but is he a YouTube? He's not really a YouTube influencer. I guess he's just, are all celebrities officially influencers? Maybe. I guess there's a Venn diagram there that they overlap quite a bit. Snoop Dogg would be fun. Big, long arms. You know, probably already fits the culture in a lot of places. He could be fun. He'd be a lot of fun. JVD, will you be having a coach help your exercises to help your game? Probably not particularly. I don't think there's much specifically. There's tons of exercises you can probably do specifically to help your disc golf game. I guarantee that. But for me, in general, this is going to be just personal fitness. What's the term I saw a bunch of people using? I'm skinny fat. Maybe that's what it is. I'm 6'6". You'd look at me and you wouldn't think, well, that guy's kind of fat. Yeah, no, most people wouldn't probably say that. Although my face is a little bit rounder than it was when we started the show 10 years ago. I'm not going to lie. But I got a little bit of extra. I got a spare tire around my waist. I just want to kind of start to look at getting rid of that. But I imagine it would be a lot of core and probably looking at more your lower body, your thighs, maybe your calves for planting, and then your core for twisting. So I'm not going to work on anything specific like that. I'm just going to be a power lifter. You know, I'm just going to be a Mr. Olympia. No, I couldn't do that. I watched something on what it takes to be like Mr. Olympia. Clearly, obviously, all the work, the fitness, the work, the thing, but just the extra stuff. Like the guy was like, yeah, you have to shave your body multiple times. And then you need to make sure that your body is, like, your skin is in phenomenal things. So they're like all this skin routine. And then you go to multiple spray tan or different types of tanning, not just probably some regular tanning, but a ton of spray tan, because that's part of the whole culture. And it's not just like, hey, look who's jacked. There's a whole pageantry to it as far as the posing and the flexing and the stuff like that. And I watched like maybe an 8-minute video on like what it takes to do that, and it does not sound fun. Even if I was crazy jacked like that, that's just nothing. I'm as white as they come. Pasty, Casper, Ghost. I don't think, no matter what I could do, I'd fit into that culture. I don't think I could ever win. So, and you wouldn't. I was surprised. And again, it's been like 10 years since I've really, not since I've been in a gym, but since I've really started to look into it. It's amazing, all of the openness of the drug use, steroid, gear as they call it. I found out, and the different types, and how it's just acceptable now. It's just part of the thing. And there's some people obviously that are like, hey, this is a bad example for children. And there's some people are like, well, you know, the only way you win some of these competitions is you get on a bunch of this stuff and it's all open and everybody knows who's doing it. It's ridiculous. But in fact, the Mike Israel, they call him Dr. Mike. He's open about how he is on a lot of that stuff, and how he was, when he was doing some competitions, how much he was on, and how it made him dumber. He's like, yeah, my brain capacity is lower when I do that. He's like, I'm quicker to anger. He's like, I have a hard time completing thoughts when I'm that jacked up. I think he's literally a doctor, but he understands what it takes, which is one of the reasons he is apparently like retiring and slow. He said he's not getting rid of the stuff. He's just going way down on his dosage. So it's a whole weird thing that I couldn't ever imagine. That scared the hell out of me personally. Ain't my thing. But yeah, my biggest issue is going to be just all the Halloween candy that's around my house right now. Both my kids went trick-or-treating. I went trick-or-treating with my daughter, walked her around before she went with some other friends. And we have so much freaking candy in my house right now that it's very snackable. It's all sitting like right in our living room table, just sits there, just waiting for me to eat it, calling me. I don't have a lot of willpower, people. Doc says, I'm all for athletes doing whatever they want to make the game better, as long as they are over 18. Yeah. I mean, I don't care. It's part of their culture. In fact, they've got a whole subsection of them that they call natty, which are all natural people, and then there's the guys that are on this junk, and yeah, no, I couldn't do it. Wouldn't go for me. Oh yeah, there's a total dad tax with Halloween candy. Both my kids have braces right now too, so they can't have anything like Starburst or Skittles. I've got a little sweet tooth. Thankfully, I'm not bad, but I do have a little sweet tooth. So I might have one of those tiny little bags, those little fun size bags of like Skittles, maybe like one a night. I'm sure it doesn't help, but yeah. All right. Do we have any other questions on the board? Otherwise, we might wrap this up here. It is currently, is that right? It's 9:05? We've only been doing this for an hour. Dodgers are down 4-5 currently right now. Next week, Terry will be back. Like I said, he's going to stop in Guatemala. and check out one of the Paul McBeth Foundation courses there. And he'll probably fly back here. We'll see him next Tuesday. It's unseasonably warm here in the Midwest. I think it was 75 degrees today at the end of October. Can't be healthy. Can't be good. But it's gonna drop. We're going down to the 50s again very soon. So it should be all right. And then next week, finally, maybe, hopefully, we'll be done with election stuff. One way or the other. I think anyone who knows me probably knows the way I'm going to vote. Anyone who's followed this long enough can probably take a wild guess at which direction I tend to lean. But in general, like in Uruguay, everybody there has to vote. I do wish we were a little bit kind of closer to that. Although I think our last election we had, 60%? 65% turnout for the last presidential election. I'd like to see that more. I'd like to see that 70, 75, 80. That would be pretty awesome. Not going to lie. But no matter who you want to vote for, get out there and vote. It's your civic duty to do that. Even if you know what? Even if you don't like either candidate, write someone in that you think would be a good job. You know? There are a lot of other things on the line as far as other candidates, down ballot candidates that you can definitely look for and look at and study those. Even if you don't like the presidential stuff, if you want to ignore that or don't vote for that or something, go and vote in your local elections as well. That's where real governing happens, is on the local level. So, Lindsay Westberg, high five to you too. Give you a big one. Yeah, right in Paige Shue. Paige Shue for president. I could get behind that. She's a sweetheart. And I think Grady would make a great first mister. You know? Can't argue with that. First husband, would that be? The first mister, first husband? Eh. So, all right, everybody. We're going to wrap this up here. It has been a whole lot of fun. It's been a pretty quick one tonight with Terry away in Uruguay. And again, not a lot going on. But ultimately, I want to thank, obviously, the Paul McBeth Foundation. I want to thank Zach. I want to thank Tyler. I guess I'll thank Terry, even though, that is kind of his thing. It's our thing. This has been podcast episode 530 of SmashBoxxTV. Next week, we'll be here, large and in charge, after I'm sure both Terry and I have voted. So, once again, we'll see you next week when you step inside the Smashbox.
Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits. If you are interested in being listed as a producer in the SmashBoxxTV credits and supporting this and other fine podcasts, please visit patreon.com/SmashBoxxTV. Thank you to our $2 and above patrons. Your name is listed below in the credits.